First band I was in
School band.
was at school, and I was playing with these really old, I thought, 22-year-old guys at the carrying a Cronulla Workers Club, and I wasn't really even old enough to be in the joint.
What were you doing? Covers?
Yeah, like early, you know. Kind of thing, and kind of thing, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was trained on trumpet and E-flat horn, classically, and I was just doing it. I just learnt stuff by ear, and uni seemed to be out of the question now because the rock and roll bug had bit, and my old man got me a job at the ABC programming music for programs 2BL and 2FC, and I met these other guys there, and we put a band together, and a couple of us met Andy Gibb during that period through mysterious circumstances, and he'd asked us individually to play with him, and we said no, we've got a band. And so when he figured out it was the same band, he asked us to support him, so we'd do our own set, and then we'd stay on stage, and we'd get changed, and we'd come back on stage, and he'd come on, and always to Neil Diamond's crunchy granola suite. That was always what the walk-on music was. And that was my first band, and I was making money, signed to Kevin Jacobson, who probably didn't do the right thing by us, but I shouldn't say too much about that. And that was interesting times though. And so I bought my first big amp, and I bought a Wasp, because you couldn't get Marshalls readily in those days, and from Wasp had moved from New Zealand to Glebe, and I bought a 200 watt Wasp Monster. It was like this giant robot, and it was too loud. I'd never use it. I was getting told to turn it down, so I went back to Ian Johnson at Wasp, and I pinched his Marshall that he used as a template for his amp building, and took it on tour. So in a way, it was my first Marshall, and I played Marshalls for many years after that. Still do play Marshalls, but I like Mesa Wookies as well. But for volume purposes, this has got a pod going through it at the moment, just so I can attenuate a little bit. A bit of a disappointing experience in terms of the aspects of the industry and the cutthroat aspects, I guess. But it didn't keep me away for that long. Did graphic design in between, still do graphic design. And I guess the next band I was in, I did bands with guys from the Layabouts, Rod Jeffries and people like that, blues stuff really, because I'd really started to get into blues. And the next thing came up really at that point was Tough Luxury, and that kind of changed my life. And we had an album, we did a lot of touring and played with a lot of people. You know, we toured with Rose Tattoo, and it's during that period I met Doc Neeson, and I already knew Matt Moffat, and so there's a lot of, you know, people that you just knew through this situation that became part of your life for different reasons. And never had to do much with Matt finish the band until the end, actually, where I played on the last album. But in that process of Tough Luxury, we had 2 albums. Second one was produced by Peter Blyton, who produced our recent stuff, which is on iTunes now. And so Peter's been a friend for all those years. And after that, went to a band called Fetish, which was short-lived, and then to Gypsy Rose. In between that, doing some bands with Doc. Odd things like a Bob Dylan cover band for a Bob Dylan festival. And recording for other people in the meantime. Like I did TV stuff when Paul Ratcliffe, the producer, asked me to play for Brenda Christian, who's a singer who had a single act called Mousetrap, which I recorded on. And then she wanted to do something on Ray Martin's show, the Midday Show. But she wanted to do not a single, she wanted to do People There's a Trainer Coming. Like the Jeff Beck, Rod Stewart version. That beautiful way Beck just took the vocal melody. And that was a great experience, and a lot of TV experience after that, with different people from Gypsy Rose, which is another band that came into being after that, doing News World and more midday shows and stuff like that. And then life came into it and I had kids. And I moved to Bateman's Bay and did a few bands down here. But since then I've been up to Sydney playing with Bob Spencer and Mark Gable, which is a great experience, and John Pryor. And in between all that, playing with Sacred Cow, recording albums, which is available on sacredcowsongs.com, because you can only buy the real album, because Sarah won't put it on iTunes. A bold and brave move. Whether it's sensible or not, I don't know. The world is what it is after all. But I kind of admire her audacity and her refuse to bend, I suppose. But it's a great album. It's lurking over there somewhere. I'll give you a copy of it before you go.
So who influenced you when you were growing up, like when you first started?
The first song that really turned my head, and I didn't really know rock existed, except a friend that worked for my father, who became a friend, loaned me 100 albums. Not 99, not 101, but 100 albums. Mostly American content. Jefferson Airplane, stuff like that. Bob Dylan. And that turned my head around because I thought, this guy can't sing, but they're great songs. Really, it's just got my head going in a completely different direction. And Cream. But the song that really got me going was Whole Lot of Love. And that just made me realise I wanted to be a guitar player, and that was it.
And how old were you?
16. 16. I was on my way to go diving in Queensland because there'd been a radio ban in this country. You could buy international albums, but you wouldn't hear them on the radio at all. We should get back to some of that. I don't think a complete ban is good or healthy, and prohibition has never worked for anything, but more Australian content and, you know, at least the equal of overseas content would be a good thing to make us realise how many wonderful musicians we've got in this country, really. Like people like Jeff Atchison. I mean, who even knows Jeff exists except for his fans in Melbourne? And he's just a wonderful composer and guitar player, really. And look at the people who play with him, all the guys from Little River Band and Stars and John Farnham's bands. They know who's good, and Jeff's good. But the general public wouldn't have a clue, you know, really. We need to know that we've got talent here, and it's good material. It's not just that it's clever, it's good material. So yeah, that song, Jimmy Page, that was the first thing that got me going. Not so influenced by Clapton, probably Paul Kossoff after that. I liked Hendrix, all that stuff, but it didn't influence me. Blackmore was the next big interest for me because he made me realise how lyrical and funky and rhythmic a guitar player can be. Not just playing, you know, fast stuff, you know, just he made the guitar come to life and he gave it melody and structure. And I think that was a big thing for me to realise that. And then, oddly enough, when I went to see Led Zeppelin at Showground, I was still at school, I heard the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore because they played that album before Led Zeppelin came on. And that really got my attention in a big way, to hear Duane Allman's slide playing and his guitar interreaction with Dickie Betts. And just the way the whole band worked together, because basically they just go on stage and jam. But it came out as some lyrical, musical masterpiece each and every time. You just listen to it live at the Fillmore, and there's not a mistake, there's not a foot out of place. Everything's perfect, and they're just jamming. And no overdrive pedals, no racks, no nothing like that, just a a Les Paul through an unmastered Marshall, no overdrive pedals, no nothing. Just turn the guitar down for rhythm and turn it up for solos. And I mean, that's the guy that Clapton wanted to kidnap for Derek and the Dominoes. He wouldn't let him out of the studio until they finished the album. I think they kept feeding him drugs until they finished, but anyway, that's their problem. But nothing ever really equaled what they did themselves as a band, the Allman Brothers. So that were my early influences anyway.